Hello. Well, this has become an annual treat for me. This is not my first annual Purpose Prize Awards ceremony, or the second, or the third, but it is my first as a member of the Encore.org board, and so, with the authority vested in me, welcome to Encore 2014. I can tell by the sound of it that this would probably be the largest ever national convocation of Encore leaders, and you are part of it. It's a celebration of individual achievement in the ethos of Encore, the work, the imagination, the impact a person can have because, not in spite of, their age. You're going to hear some amazing stories tonight. Sitting among you are some fantastic people who, in strikingly varied, highly individual, and innovative ways, are working to make their mark in underserved communities in the US and abroad. But they didn't do it for the recognition they are going to get tonight. But they're just going to have to rest a while from the hard work they do and accept it. As a journalist, it is my humble contribution to recognize the power of stories to change lives. The underlying theme tonight is that you are all part of the story. People have come, some from thousands of miles away, to be part of a story our parents and grandparents very likely never heard. We have chances they never had to leave a mark. We've been given a gift. One of the women I met in the Your Life Calling series I did with AARP talked about time after her daughter had left for school. She said it was like a gift box. She could fill it any way she wanted. She wanted to stretch a little, and she wanted to make a difference. And so she trained her Labradoodle, Pransky, to be a therapy dog. And the two of them are a therapy team working 2 hours a week in a nursing home. It's a small story, but she was very aware that she was part of a much bigger story. People are living longer. And it's a transformative moment when a person realizes the power to make a mark is about time. How we invest it to the greater good. That's the Encore ethos. I call these years trying times, by which I mean the years after 50 can be a time of tremendous productivity, an opportunity to try things, try new things, maybe even really big things. But what? Tonight is a feast of ideas come to life. Let them inspire you to try something in your community, your country, our world. You're never too old to make a mark, or for that matter, too young. The Chickawali Dance Ensemble is here, along with their director, a 2014 Purpose Prize Fellow, Alex Andrina Dixon, who dreamed big about the potential for African rites of passage to transform the lives of people in her community, Rockland County, New York. These performers have never been this far from home. One of them is 6 years old. Will you give them all a very warm welcome?
Thank you, Chikawalu. Wow. Now imagine that burst of young energy, multiply it millions, well, at least 100,000 times, by all of the work of our Purpose Prize winners and honorees here that we are honoring tonight. Is that think about the work that they are doing in community. It's got to be fabulous. And so I want to add my heartfelt respect and congratulations to all of the 2014 Purpose Prize winners and the honorees in the audience. My name is Ysabel Duron. I'm a former TV news journalist and anchor for the past 43 years. I embarked on quite an encore journey myself, this after a sobering battle with cancer that changed my life, or the course of my life, 15 years ago. A year ago, I was sitting where some of you are, as a Purpose Prize winner. And even with 4 decades in front of the camera, I was a little nervous, because I knew that winning the Purpose Prize was something big, bigger perhaps than even I could understand at the time. It has provided an opportunity to me to turn the spotlight on the organization that I built, Latinas Contra Cancer, which provides cancer education and support through end of life to a very vulnerable, underserved Hispanic community, and never thought that this could even bring that beyond measure. And the added credibility that the prize gave me as someone who created a new entity out of what I thought was sometimes just sheer force of will. But it is truly impossible to grasp, and I hope that the prize winners and honorees here tonight are feeling some of that. Encore.org also gave me a community of like-minded people who believe that the opportunity to serve, to make change, to improve the lives of others is in fact an opportunity too great to be ignored. So to the 2014 Purpose Prize winners, take a deep breath. I would say your work has just begun. Your work and your dedication is being celebrated tonight by this very extraordinary community, and we're going to hear a lot from the 6 of you in just a little bit. Right now, I'd like to take a moment to recognize the 2014 Purpose Prize Fellows that are with us tonight. Now it's your time in the spotlight. So please stand up, and everybody else, please join us in a round of applause for this remarkable group of people. And the spotlight has room for many others. Can I ask all Purpose Prize winners and fellows dating back as far as 2006 to stand as we acknowledge all of your achievements? Come on, get up. So take a look around you. Your community supports and is inspired by all of you who represent 465 winners and fellows, 465 that have been honored over the past 9 years. Your projects address powerful and varied needs, probably too many to name: health and wellness, veterans issues, conflict resolution, the healing power of the arts, the environment, on and on and on. The work you do makes the lives of so many people so much better, not only for them and their communities, for the planet. So thank you all very much. And even though you all sat down without me giving you permission, I still thank you very much. It's now my pleasure to invite Sherry Lansing forward to provide an official welcome to tonight's proceedings. Ms. Lansing is the CEO of the Sherry Lansing Foundation. She is the former chairman of Paramount Pictures and an Encore.org board member. She was the first person to join the Purpose Prize jury 9 years ago, and since then, she has continued to serve tirelessly as the jury chair, and she is undoubtedly one of Encore.org's most passionate advocates. Join me in welcoming Sherry Lansing.
Thank you. Thank you. I am delighted to be here. This is always an event that I look forward to every single year, and it never, ever disappoints me. But I have to admit, as I look out at all of you, my mind is filled with memories, because I can still remember the very, very first Purpose Prize event that we had. It was 9 years ago, and we had it in a small restaurant, and there were about 25 people there. And today, there are over 500 people in this incredible theater, and we have extraordinary entertainment, and best of all, we have all of you. This event and all of you here today continue to inspire me. When I look at you, I know that our movement has grown and it has taken hold, and I know that we are really making an impact in the world, and all of you are making the world a better place. I have had the true privilege of being the jury chair for 9 years. So first, I want to thank my fellow jury members for their time and their commitment. It's really a pleasure to read all of the essays and all of the applicants, because we get to see firsthand the work that you're doing. And as I said, we get to be inspired. But I also have to admit, as the Purpose Prize has grown, being a member of the jury has been kind of agonizing, because we have so many wonderful choices that we kind of want to throw up our hands and say, okay, we're giving it to everybody. Everybody deserves it, that's the truth. But despite these challenges, I think you'll have to admit that when you hear about each of the winners, that we have extraordinary people. And what they are doing is making the world a better place, and the impact will be felt for generations to come. So I'd like to now introduce you to the man who is going to present our very first prize, Kimon Sargent. Kimon represents the Templeton Foundation, and without the Templeton Foundation, we would not exist. And that's the truth. So we are incredibly grateful to this foundation because they were there in the very beginning. And along with Atlantic Philanthropies, they had the vision to see what the Encore movement could become. So ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Kimon Sargent. Kimon.
Thank you very much, Sherry. Good evening. I'm Kimon Sargent, Vice President of Human Sciences at the John Templeton Foundation. And we are proud to be a founding partner of the Purpose Prize along with the Atlantic Philanthropies, as Sherry mentioned. This is my 9th time at the Purpose Prize, and it keeps getting better. So Sherry mentioned the inspiration for the Purpose Prize, and for us that came from our founder, who kept sending us faxes, asking us, how can we promote a vision of purpose and retirement? Because he knew that in his own life, noble purpose was the fuel that both powered his passion initially in his financial career and also in his own Encore career, which was the Templeton Foundation. And I am so sure that Sir John Templeton would be thrilled to meet our winner tonight, who is also powered by purpose, and that is the Reverend Richard Joyner, whose Encore brought him out of the pulpit and back to the land, where he's working with youth on a 25-acre garden to cultivate healthy food and, just as importantly, a healthier community. You're going to see tonight the gardens where you can imagine those fresh green beans, and I bet you're growing real tomatoes, not those tasteless things we get in the stores now, and watch bees making honey. And so this is as real as it gets, work that will sustain future generations to come. Reverend Joyner exemplifies the power of noble purpose that is just central to the Foundation's mission. So that's why it is a great honor for me to present to him the 2014 Purpose Prize tonight. But first, before you come up, I want to introduce you to his work in Canida, I think I have that right, North Carolina, in this clip.
Isn't it amazing that they would say that we do not have access to fresh, healthy, grown vegetables? We can turn things around right here if we start using what we have. Have I got a witness in the house?
The first year I was here, we had 30 funerals of people that were under the age of around 32 on up. And the cause of funerals was really poor access to healthy foods. That really prompted us to look at ways in which we could address those issues.
Kenita is very rural. There are no grocery stores and no places to find healthy foods. What he is doing is special.
We started this garden that would address food, health, and at the same time, it would build social skills.
Pastor Richards has taught me how to be a leader in the classroom.
He teach me how to be a man.
The best thing I learned, bananas out the garden is healthy.
I was completely amazed to talk to some of the children, and they actually are aware of things like pesticides and what grows in what season.
All right, push it down there.
When I grew up, we sharecropped, which were very racist back in that day and time. After a good education, after a pretty good career, to be asked to come back and farm was really a lot of anger for me. When I grew up, I did not like farming. The only reason motivated me to do it was for the children. And they taught me an appreciation for the soil that I didn't have.
All right, let's ease it open. So if you find any honey that's been blended or mixed, it was a two-legged bee. How many two-legged bees you know? I'm one.
It's really given me a chance to do something at this stage of my life that can impact children that I could not do for myself as a youth. I started working the soil at birth, and I started loving it at 50, and I love it more at 61. You can't address some of the things that we're addressing through rituals. Pastorate for me now is more intimate.
So after service today, you can go out there and get what you need. You now got access to fresh, healthy food in your community.
Thank you so much.
My name is Richard Joyner, and this is my encore.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating 2014 Purpose Prize winner, Reverend Richard Joyner.
Thank you so much, Kimon, and thank you so much, Encore and Purpose Prize. Certainly, I bring you greetings from Kenita. Some people say Conto, but it's the greetings to be here. I am thoroughly impressed with the video. It was a monsoon weekend. And I don't know how they cut out all the rain and all of the sinking boots in the mud. But I'm glad that they did. Certainly, it is a great, great opportunity as I stand here to represent those 65 youth, those 300 people from the Kenita community and from the eastern part of North Carolina that have given me this rich privilege to come to say to you thank you, and to, as you've heard, that my own story is to come from a family of 14 and to come out of a process of poverty and sharecropping, but to be reintroduced to the soil and to get a privilege that my father didn't get, to own the land and not only do agriculture, but get a chance to do agribusiness and watch the youth prosper. So tonight, I am extremely thankful, and not only standing for myself, but standing for those multitude of people who never had the privilege that I have tonight. And for those youth that made this possible, and I tell everybody that it's the youth that wasn't on the video, that the 30 deaths, and being in the middle of Kanita. And let me just take you to a journey of that story, that one day I was praying, and I looked up and looked around, just praying and asking God, is there any help? And I just heard a voice say, open your eyes and look around. I saw nothing but land. And my dislike for land, I said, is there anybody else up there? Surely there has to be another answer. But taking that vision back to our youth, starting with a 2-acre garden, and now 25-acre garden, starting with no beehives, and this year 500 beehives, starting with having 96 people visiting the emergency room in a quarter, and the readmits, and today 24 people in the quarter visit the emergency room with less than 5 remits. And all of this is by youth and families that believe in the Encore vision that we can turn life around. So I am thankful tonight to be here. And just want to say a few words of thanks to, I am honored that the old saying that it literally take a village to raise and change a community. So I'm honored to receive this award tonight and accept the 2014 Purpose Prize Award on behalf of our community, because I know that no one person can make this happen. And I want to thank my board chair, which is my cousin, Rosa Steele, that is here tonight. She traveled to make sure that I get back to the farm. And also, she's our representative of our adult volunteer in Kanita, and she gives selflessly of her experience and in her Encore career and working with our youth. Dr. Cunningham, which was one of the persons at Brody School of Medicine that believed in our vision and began to change the way the medical school did practice medicine in the rural community. And also, on behalf of Vidant, Blue Cross, and Blue Shield of North Carolina and the foundation that helped us to grow and strengthen the program and the impact in our community. The Edgecombe County Commissioners, with our youth petitioning them to give us a building that we can house their program in classroom. And the pastor and youth of 21 other faith groups in our community now that agreed to take on the practice of the faith community and especially our young people. And the Conservation Fund, which Mickey Seeger is here with us tonight, that actually represented us and gave us the privilege to apply for the Purpose Prize Award. And when she asked me would we mind, I said, anything to help out, please do it. And so it has helped. Mickey, the Conservation Fund, that have taught us to realize the power of partnership and addressing social, economics, environmental stresses and issues, and the triple bottom line. And most of all, to this great group of youth. And as I close tonight, my grandmother used to say this song. She said, if I can help somebody as I travel along, if I could cheer somebody with a word of a song, then my living shall not be in vain. Thank you, Encore.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Gilbert, and I lead Symetra Financial's Retirement Division. It is my great honor to join all of you tonight for the 2014 Purpose Prize Award Ceremony. We're very proud to be here for the second year in a row, and this prize recognizes an individual whose approach for helping society has potential to grow steadily over the next 5 years. By design, the Symetra-sponsored prize emphasizes the idea of future promises because it aligns with who we are as a company. As a life insurance retirement company, we're in the business to deliver on future promises. Now, for most of us, even for those of us in the insurance business, it's hard to imagine experiencing a severe natural disaster and the rebuilding that follows. David Campbell doesn't have to imagine it. He's been in the thick of some of the world's most urgent crises, from the tsunami-ravaged Thailand to Katrina-battered New Orleans. Through All Hands Volunteers, the nonprofit he founded in 2005, David has brought clarity and focus to the chaotic world of well-intentioned but often disorganized global volunteers. In both his work and life, David embodies one of Symetra's core values, a commitment to service and community. He also deeply believes that mending the world's broken places is both a vital responsibility and a privilege. At Symetra, we build products to help individuals save for and enjoy a successful retirement or encore career. The 2014 Purpose Prize for Future Promise recognizes David Campbell's inspiring encore career and his outstanding achievement in creating All Hands Volunteers. It also recognizes the potentially transformative power of this remarkable organization to reach people in need in the remote corners of the world when future crises strike. I don't think there's any doubt that the world is a better place for David Campbell's work. And now, it's my pleasure to invite you to watch a short film and to be wowed, as I have been, by the impact of David's encore.
It's coming again. It's coming again? Yeah, it's coming again. It's on here. More finally.
In 2004, the Southeast Asian tsunami hit, killed over 200,000 people. I had spent 40 plus years in a technology career, and I found myself wondering who's thinking about how to use the internet as a way to actually connect people in the immediate aftermath of a major natural disaster. And several weeks later, I found myself in Phuket, Thailand, trying to answer that question. All Hands Volunteers is an empowered volunteer disaster response organization. After major natural disasters, we try to arrive quickly and make it possible for people from anywhere in the world to come and help those people who've been affected. I had worked in a variety of technology companies, being president or CEO of 3 of them. All Hands Volunteers actually uses my skill, which is not in building a school or designing an irrigation canal. It's creating an organization. I intended to go for 10 days in 2005, and it's basically all I've done, now approaching 10 years. Everybody's developing skills that can be useful in this creative chaos after a disaster. It could be working on a spreadsheet. It could be understanding how to buy trucks. The most important thing we do, I think, is the message it gives to the volunteers that in this world of technology, they can still be connected to people and have a direct impact on someone's life.
So we'll jump right into reports in the field. Snug Harbor team, you guys want to go first? Talk about what you...
As a young person, I really wanted a mentor, somebody that had knowledge and experience that they could share with me that would make sense of life. And since meeting David, it's been just hugely inspiring, and he's helped me learn the ropes of the organization, of the nonprofit world, but also of how to be a good guy.
It has a tremendous psychological benefit to the community beyond the houses we got or the schools we build when they see dozens or hundreds of individuals who've interrupted their life and have come just to help them on this road to recovery.
When Hurricane Sandy hit us, this house was filled with 5 foot of water. I was trying to do this myself. And when All Hands got here, miracles happened. I was able to go back to work. I was able to actually start having a life again, and the emotional and financial burden was lifted.
Everyone has a network they can tap and use to explain, here's a real problem, here's a real solution, help me attack it. The people who show up at an All Hands project are giving up their time to live in a commune, to work for nothing, to people they don't know who've had a significant loss. That's the kind of people I like to spend time with. I'm David Campbell, and this is my encore.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 2014 Purpose Prize for Future Promise winner, David Campbell.
Thank you, Don. Thanks so much, everyone. It's delightful to be here. First message I have is to the fellows that are here, both this year and earlier, and that I was first at the Purpose Prize in 2006 as a fellow. So congratulations. You're starting on a great path. Stick with it. It might take a little while. It's just such a great honor to be here. I want to thank, Mark and all the people at Encore for not just starting Encore.org, but actually the Encore movement, which is capturing such people, such interest and such awareness. So congratulations to that. I want to thank lots of different entities, but particularly the staff, Mark and Eric, who are here tonight, the donors who've helped support All Hands, my wife of over 50 years, Gay, who's been with us on many projects and helped support the organization in those early years. There's so much, but mainly I want to speak on behalf of the volunteers. In the disaster space, there's a phrase for SUV, spontaneous, unaffiliated volunteers. And most organizations say, stay home and send money. But after I'd had the engagement in Thailand and found how satisfying it was when you were in the middle of a disaster area and you saw this chaos and this unlimited sets of needs, and people wanted to come and have a chance to help, that led us to form the official organization which responded after Katrina in Biloxi for the first time. And the volunteers have only one strong desire, to be productive. And when the volunteers come and live in the community, they understand really the root cause. The root cause we address is poverty. Disasters simply exacerbate the poverty. But when we live in their community and become accepted by them, we understand their problems and deal with them directly. We create skills and relationships that are essential and exciting. As you see from the video, most of our volunteers are younger. 60% of our volunteers are under 30. But we have an intergenerational relationships on our projects that I think is actually extraordinary. We hit a record just last month where we're responding to major flooding in Detroit, where we had a 95-year-old volunteer with his 78-year-old wife. So we get some of these young couples that show up and work together. But it's just even in our project in the Philippines, where we're working today in response to Typhoon Haiyan that happened November 12th last year, we've had individuals choose to leave their home, pay their own way to fly to our project from 58 different countries. So at the project site, you have about 50 to 100 people of mixed ages, mixed ethnicities, mixed countries, working together during the day for a common cause. I adopted a phrase for myself, but fully representing the volunteers, called the Good for Nothing Club. People who are willing to do good for nothing. And I think it's an extraordinary power, and effectively everyone in this room represents it to some extent, because you all see something outside of yourself that has value. And the purpose prize to me is particularly significant because purpose has been a defining phrase in my life. And to have had the chance to exercise it and to have the opportunity to be recognized for it is a wonderful and satisfying moment for me. I want to particularly thank the people at Symetra who made this substantial financial contribution, which I think both elevates the recognition of the entire Encore movement and the Purpose Prize, and particularly, frankly, for the fact that I'm receiving that award. I must admit, it's a bit daunting at 72 for someone to be giving you an award for future promise. But I'll take that on, and we will do the best we can. Thank you, Dan, and thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
Good evening. My name is Rod Shao. I'm the founder CEO of InPlay, which is a nonprofit that connects low-income youth with after-school and summer programs. I also had the privilege of serving on the application review team this past year, and that's when I first encountered the remarkable story of Kate Williams. Now, all of the awardees this evening have overcome great challenges to be able to help other people. But in the case of Kate Williams, her first challenge was to help herself. She was a job recruiter for pharmaceutical and high-tech firms when her career took an unexpected turn. She began to lose her sight. By age 65, she had lost most of her vision. As you can imagine, it must have been very difficult for her to come to terms with this loss. I'm sure all of us can appreciate how frightened we would be if we were to lose our sight. And yet, Kate was able to overcome this hurdle, and in the process, to find new purpose for her vocation. Today, Kate runs the innovative employment immersion program at Lighthouse for the Blind and Visually Impaired. She trains and mentors visually impaired people so that they can find jobs. In recognition and appreciation for her shining example for all people facing challenges everywhere, it is my pleasure and honor to present her with a 2014 Purpose Prize. But first, let's pause to watch this short film which captures the joy and spirit that Kate brings in helping other people.
When I was a kid, my father ended our breakfast with the same saying every day: attitude is everything, so today be sure you pick a good one. The key there is not necessarily the attitude, but it's the choice. When I was around 40, when I was actually looking at her photographs, I was unable to discern the features on the page. It looked as if everything was melting. It was very frightening. I have a congenital disease, and it affects the eyes. By the time I was 50, I lost so much vision that I could no longer drive. To take that away was devastating to me. I really, at that time, went into some depression. I thought, what am I going to do with my life? I wanted to keep working. I had to just do it differently.
Subject, hello Kate, attached is the job description for the technology trainer. Job description.
Realizing that at my age and with my disability, my chances of finding employment seemed to me to be unsurmountable, that I thought a lot of other people have to be feeling this way. Since my background had been almost 30 years in working with people, finding them employment, I created this program that brings individuals from all sectors of the blind community and assists them in securing employment.
This is kind of my first foot out the door as an unemployed, blind individual. Am I going to go now years searching for a job?
It's just one of those other fears that we have. And they're real, and you haven't been out there for a while. In the near future, it'll start coming more naturally, and you'll feel better about it.
But I mean, I'm also looking at
We go through interview techniques, disclosing their disability, advocating for themselves. Then we work with them one-on-one, helping them meet their specific job goal.
When I was 39, I started having some vision loss, and I felt really isolated. Kate helped me get back into my nursing career, which I thought was over. I ended up going through her program, which kind of gave me my life back.
It didn't come easily. It's not as if I woke up one morning and thought, I think I'm going to go out and teach a lot of blind people. It actually came through my own journey, feeling depressed, feeling that there were no answers. I'm glad I went through that, because now that helps me help them.
Goodbye, ladies. Bye.
When that phone rings and someone's on the other end and they say, I've had a job offer, I know from that moment on, their lives are going to change. If I can't be a role model to other people that are visually impaired, then I'm not going to make a difference in their life, and that's what I want to do. I'm Kate Williams, and this is my encore.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Kate Williams.
I told Eunice and Marcy, members of the Encore staff, that I didn't want to practice my speech because I couldn't put any notes in front of me to read. So I was going to speak from my heart and extemporaneously. But honestly, I had no idea my heart would feel like this, and I'm just overwhelmed to be in front of you. The only thing that makes this easier for me, because I've learned from every person that's won the Purpose Prize that we all feel the same way. We don't want to be in the spotlight. We want this to be about what we do, not who we are. But I realize that this is an opportunity for me to speak on behalf of the millions of disabled Americans that are in our communities, whether it be a wounded warrior, whether you be a victim of an accident, born deaf, or contract blindness later on in life. We all have something in common, and that is that we wish to be not defined by our disability, but our abilities. That gives me the strength to go on and do what I do, which is working specifically in that field of disability with the blind and visually impaired. I am fortunate enough to be working with the Lighthouse for the Blind in San Francisco. Actually, they've been around for about 100 years, over 100 years. And this evening, I'm just so thrilled to have our Director of Human Resources, Julie McCarthy, with me. So if you want to know more about the Lighthouse for the Blind and what they do, the many services they provide for the blind and visually impaired, I really urge you to seek her out and find out what we do. Brian Bashan, our CEO, and Julie McCarthy, our Director of Human Resources, have made employment a #1 priority for the Lighthouse for the Blind. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be having the program that we have today. It's our true desire to help people. I can feel proud of this. We have garnered more than $1.6 million in salaries for people who have never collected a salary before. We have saved taxpayers in excess of $20 million by taking people from benefit roles and having them as active participants in the field of employment. Now, I'm so proud of those people, those young people, those older people, those people that were born blind, those people that had blindness later on in their life. They've picked up their lives and they're moving on and they're finding purpose through employment. All of us really get a lot of who we are from what we do. And to give them this opportunity has been one of the greatest pleasures I've ever had. I don't stand on this stage alone. I don't think any of us tonight feel that way. We don't stand here alone. I have been particularly blessed with a myriad of people some of whom are here tonight, many are here tonight. And I want to take a moment to be personal and to thank them. Diane Wheeler, the person who nominated me for this award, said to me, "Kate, you are so fortunate because you have around you friends that are family and family that are friends." That could not be truer. I want to acknowledge some of those friends that are family. Silvana Rainey, when I was at my lowest point, I couldn't read a resume. I couldn't see my computer. I called the Department of Rehabilitation, and they sent me a wonderful young woman who taught me about adaptive technology. It said, your life can keep going. You can keep working. And actually, she kept me in that job through her training for several more years. But it wasn't just the training that Silvana gave me. It was that she embodied the spirit and the go at it attitude. Don't let this get you down, with such grace and dignity, because she too was visually impaired, and it just was so inspiring. And to this day, I shall never be able to thank her enough for letting me have a full and rich life. Thank you, Silvana. To Diane Wheeler, and I worked with her at a pharmaceutical company in Southern California for many years, as I did with my first boss, Judy Hibbard. They're with me tonight. Diane and Judy and Judy's husband, Greg, cradled me through cancer and through blindness. Their love and their support are never going to be able to be repaid. Thank you so much. They are my friends who are family. then I'm so grateful to have my 90-year young mother here tonight. I just have to give her. I think from day one, she's embodied that spirit of giving to others. She's been a really wonderful example for me to grow up in my family. She is accompanied by my very handsome brother, David, and my sister, Nancy. I have a bigger family, but some are here tonight. My sister, Nancy, and her wife, Meredith. These people have carried me through with humor, and they've taught me, most of all, to be able to laugh at myself. I'll never be able to thank you enough. I was a single parent for many years without my 3 children, Jane, Julie, and Patrick. I don't think that I could have made it. Shall forever be grateful to them for giving me all that support and making me feel that I was important in their lives as they were important in mine. I'm lucky to have my daughter Julie with us tonight. Julie is a psychotherapist, is that right? She's with the county of Santa Barbara. She's doing such wonderful work. She wanted to attend the entire convention with me, not just tonight, but to stay for the convention. She wants to learn more about the Encore years, because I know someday, she's going to take this back to her community, but even more importantly, someday when she's 20 years older or so, she's going to be a part of this movement, because she's seen how wonderful this is for older Americans, particularly someone in my case, how this is giving us an opportunity to give back to our communities. It's such an honor to be associated with this organization. And I have a new mantra. It used to be, attitude is everything. Today, be sure you choose a good one. But I was watching the Roosevelts recently on PBS, and Eleanor Roosevelt said something that really touched my heart. So it's my new mantra, and I would like to invite everyone in this audience to take this on, whether it be in an Encore career or doing what you're doing right now. She said so eloquently, do that which you think you cannot do. So thank you, everyone, so much for this award and this honor. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Trent Stamp, Executive Director of the Eisner Foundation, this year's sponsor of the Purpose Prize for Intergenerational Impact. At the Eisner Foundation, under the leadership of our founders, Michael and Jane Eisner and their son Anders, who are here tonight, we attempt to provide access and opportunity for the disadvantaged children of Southern California and to give those kids the chance to dream. But for too many emotionally and physically vulnerable children, the dream can become a nightmare, filled with loss, anxiety, and fear. This psychological trauma can extend into their daily lives, affecting how they learn, how they express their emotions, and how they interact with the other people in their lives. And as we have seen many times in our work, children who bear the burden of poverty struggle more than other children do, and more than any child ever should. Dr. Pamela Cantor's Turnaround for Children offers the schools that serve these children the help they need and deserve, reaching tens of thousands of teachers, staff, and kids in 86 schools since Turnaround was first created in 2002. Grounded in proven brain science, Dr. Cantor's work is on a path to transform public education, and her unwavering commitment to improving the lives of children inspires us all to do more. It is a great honor to give Dr. Cantor today the Eisner Foundation's Purpose Prize for Intergenerational Impact. But first, we need to watch a short film.
Imagine walking into a school with more kids in the halls than in the classrooms, teachers who were cowering, a principal who was afraid to go out of her office, and I'll never forget a mom holding the hand of a 5-year-old little girl, thinking to myself, would I ever leave my child in an environment that looked like this? Turnaround for Children is focused on the profound challenges to learning in our high-poverty, underperforming schools. Poverty is a trauma in children's lives, and it has very, very specific effects on the way they learn and the way they behave. At Turnaround, we've created a way of thinking about schools through the lens of stress. Hi, how are you? Most of you know, part of my life is that I knew trauma as a child. And over 22 years in practice, I worked with kids who had known trauma. I'm a physician by background. When I practiced as a doctor, I was never in over my head. But when you look at what's going on in our schools, this is not how teachers feel.
We see students that are not able to focus, that are sometimes just exploding, and you don't really know why.
The impact of stress on the developing brain produces that fight or flight feeling, and it means that they come into school not calm, not ready for learning. The aha moment for me was realizing that I did have tools that could get one child well, but what I didn't have was a picture of how you would scale knowledge like that so that every child in this school would get what they needed. We provide supports to kids with intense needs. We train every teacher in the building with a set of tools and strategies so that they can run highly effective classrooms.
I feel like Dr. Cantor motivates us. Hearing her talk about it and this love and this passion that she has for supporting students, it makes us want to go out and do that work even more.
When I was a doctor working with one child, I was unstoppable. It's been a very, very different thing in this second chapter of my life to realize that I was never trained to run an organization. So I guess it's a bit of a mixture of being courageous, but also being a learner. This is the set of challenges that we're unraveling, and there isn't a recipe book. We're making the book. I'm Dr. Pamela Cantor, and this is my encore.
To receive the Eisner Foundation's Purpose Prize for Intergenerational Impact, please join me in welcoming Dr. Pamela Cantor to the stage.
Thank you so much for honoring me and the work of Turnaround for Children with the Purpose Prize. And thank you especially for the meaning of this prize. It's a prize that honors the dedication to one idea over a whole life, lived in 2 chapters. In particular, a very special thank you to Michael and Jane Eisner and to their family for making this issue visible to all of us. Here's why. Today, across this country, there are tens of thousands of kids who are in high-poverty communities and are not getting anywhere close to the opportunity of an American dream. The schools they attend are letting them down and steal that opportunity from them. In the life I had as a doctor, I saw children who had known unspeakable trauma. But it became clear to me that independent of what happened to them, they often had many things in common. They couldn't trust, they couldn't connect, their reactions to things were extreme, and they all had problems in school. What was going on? In our schools, it's much the same thing. And the science that we understand today about stress explains this. Did you know that we are the only mammal on the planet whose thinking and feeling and learning brain develops after we're born? Relationships and environment actually shape the human brain. If those environments are good, then a child's brain develops that's productive and disciplined and caring. But when children grow up in environments that are filled with stress, like the stress of homelessness or exposure to violence or hunger, and with few adults to buffer that stress, something else happens. Chemicals flood the brain, cortisol, and it produces that fight or flight feeling, that thumping, the sweaty palms. Under those circumstances, it's hard to think, much less learn. And if you have a few kids like this under stress in a classroom, it can shut the classroom down. And in a school with 400, 500, 600 kids, it can shut the entire school down. What I'm most wanting you to understand is that adversity doesn't happen to children. It happens inside of children. The connection between poverty and performance lies right here. That when we speak about our struggling, high-poverty schools, what we're really looking at is the impact of stress on the developing brain and what that means for teaching and for the process of learning itself. Turnaround for Children's mission, my mission, the thing that I want to carry into the world, is a message that adversity matters and that learning is a brain function and that we can't ignore the connection between these two things, or we will do so at the peril of our country. But here's what's so powerful and what's so positive in the science, that knowing what stress does to the developing brain, knowing that children's brains are malleable into adulthood, and knowing that they will respond for good or bad to the environments we put them in, all of this tells us that what could potentially crack the code of struggling schools is the deliberate design, grounded in the science, of a teaching and learning environment, an environment fortified to reduce stress, to build readiness, and to promote academic as well as social and emotional growth. An environment powerful enough to correct for the stress of poverty, not fix it, not ignore it, correct for it. Can you imagine what it would mean to struggling schools across America if they knew how to correct for the stress of poverty? What would that mean? So whether you are drawn to this issue by the urgency of transforming struggling schools, because we have diminishing economic competitiveness, because we have a threat to global security, because we have a workforce that we have to build, or whether you share my fury at the unfairness of this. But in honoring me, you are lifting up the idea that each child's life and their education are important, and that their destiny should not be determined by their race or their zip code. My story and my encore from the beginning were compelled by the meaning of fairness, and you have honored that tonight. Thank you so much.
We have
had hoped to be joined this evening by Dennis White, President and CEO of MetLife Foundation. Unfortunately, due to a family emergency, he regretfully had to cancel at the last minute. That means I get the honor of standing in for Dennis and the great work of MetLife Foundation, which has devoted significant resources to bringing financial knowledge, tools, and support to underserved communities both domestically and abroad. They are the proud sponsors of the inaugural Purpose Prize for Financial Inclusion being presented to Mauricio Lim Miller, founder of Family Independence Initiative, which combats stereotypes about poverty by using established social relationships and peer networks to save money, to improve home ownership, to keep kids in school, and to provide for a better future. Mauricio's work embodies MetLife's commitment to ensuring low-income individuals and families gain access to safe and affordable financial services, and it does so with cultural sensitivity and grace. Mauricio knows what it means to climb up out of poverty, and he's created the means for others to make the same climb. Let's pause and watch this film about his work.
I ran social services for 20 years, and the system is set up that as you work and you do better, the resources go away. As I was getting older, that contradiction just didn't sit right with me. My parents were living in Mexico, and my mother decided that to have a better life, that you had to come to America, and if you worked hard, you'd get the American dream. My mother sacrificed everything so that I could get into college. She worked 2 jobs, and like so many people that come to work really hard, nobody would invest in her. Nobody would trust her. I provided social services and tried to help people like my family for 20 years. All that existed was a social service program that was patronizing. My mother would never accepted that kind of help. The mayor of Oakland, who is now the governor of California, Jerry Brown, called me up and said, if you could do anything you wanted to do and you really wanted to have an impact on poverty, what would you do? I realized I didn't know what to do, but my mother figured out what to do to get me out. And for that fact, I think most mothers, fathers, guardians would have a better idea how to get their own families out. So I started the Family Independence Initiative. I started collecting data from hundreds of families and found out maybe my mother's not so unique. This initiative was set up to really find out what the capacity was of families to actually help themselves, and would they be willing to help each other.
What Mauricio is saying is, I believe in the track record of these families, and I'm going to invest small amounts of capital that they'll deploy according to their own sense. And then he's just tracking the data to see how they make those investments.
One thing I like about it, he's not doing nothing for you, but he's showing you you can do this all by yourself. We're just providing you the resources to do so. Everything that I've wanted to do, I've always just sat back thinking about it. Mauricio has literally made me jump. Yes, this is very good and healthy, Vanya. You did such a great job with that cookie.
For me, the biggest transformation has been to really step back and just be supportive or helpful and encouraging of what other people do.
I just want to say thank you for your vision, because it definitely has encouraged me to keep doing what I'm doing.
The power of change is embedded in these communities. For us, it really is, can you make visible what nobody sees?
Watching your ideas and what you do, that's what inspires me, so thank you.
I am Mauricio Lim Miller, and this is my encore.
On behalf of, I don't want to interrupt the applause, carry on. No, on behalf of MetLife Foundation, please welcome the 2014 Purpose Prize for Financial Inclusion winner, Mauricio Lim Miller.
Okay, thank you so much. Seriously, I want to thank people at Encore, the board, the staff, the folks at MetLife. All of that means a lot to me, except it is very strange to be up here receiving this award. As you heard in there, that I don't actually do anything. The magic is that I don't. It's like, maybe it's that I believe in those folks because they're like my folks. It was like my family. My mother was Mexican, female, third grade education, came up here to work really hard, build a better life. And somewhat like Kate explained, nobody wants to really be defined by their deficits, and she didn't want to be defined by her deficits. And the families that you saw, and the families in our neighborhoods and communities, we have a charitable system that asks them to define themselves in terms of their deficits so that we can help them. And that just isn't good, it isn't right, it isn't the way it really is. And what you find and what you see when you start actually looking at people through a very different lens is that they have that capacity to do it. Obviously, in our history, we've done all of that before there were any programs. And so for us, it was really, and actually with the help of Jerry Brown, is to find out what would people do if I fired all my social workers, because at one point I had 120 of them. So we fired everybody, and we asked the families, what would you do? Just what Jerry had asked me, what would I do? I asked the families, what would you do? And income started jumping 27%. Communities started coming together, and you would not believe how much they help one another. And when there isn't anything else, they will help one another. Much more, all these stereotypes are totally wrong. And so it is very strange to then get this award when those folks should be getting this award. But I'm going to take it, but I'm going to take it for something else. I'm going to take it to honor my mother's struggle to get my life together. Our life did not go so well coming to America from actually Nogales, which is just south of here. And my sister's life did not go well. My mother didn't come to America to lose both of her children, and so she concentrated on me. She gave up everything, including her health, to make sure one of her kids would succeed, and she got me into and through UC Berkeley as an engineer. And I was told to be an engineer. I was a bad engineer, but like, with a mother like this, you do what you're told, right? So I did become an engineer and entered a different world. I was now in a position to help my sister and her 3 kids, which is what my mother had wanted. My mother by this time had become pretty ill. She really had given up health care and everything to save for me going to college. And so at that point then, what I wanted to do was to get her the operations that she needed and get her the place that she wanted. And she was over there, no, that's not what I gave up my health for. You know, your role is to take care of your sister, her kids, and not let what happened to our family happen to anybody else. And so she and I would have these big arguments, and finally she stopped arguing. And so then I started going through my plans in terms of what I was going to do for her. And about 3 weeks before I was going to spend some money on her, she went to Las Vegas and she took her own life. She had planned this probably since she stopped arguing with me. And so I was a little traumatized, Dr. Cantor, but I knew what she had asked of me. And so while she had wanted me to become a designer, which is what I wanted, instead I joined the War on Poverty. You saw what happened. I realized that my mother would not go through my programs. They were too patronizing. It would take her pride away, is what she would say. And so really what I have done is just to step back and realize that the families that we all care about, especially the ones that are not in crisis, really can do it themselves. And our role is step back and just be there, you know, and validate what their strengths really are. So I will accept the award, but I will accept it in honor of my mother. So thank you. Thank you, Mom.
Good evening. My name is Joanne Jenkins, and I am the CEO of AARP and a Purpose Prize juror. I want to begin my remarks this evening by giving a shout out to members in the audience from the local chapter of AARP Experience Corps, a volunteer program that exemplifies our commitment to tapping the experience and passion of older Americans to ensure that every child has a chance to succeed in schools and in life. It is this same commitment that makes it such an honor for me to introduce Charles Fletcher. Over many years, Charles has created a powerful source of healing and joy that has transformed the lives of 5,000 children with disabilities globally. Through Spirit Horse International, Charles offers children living with profound challenges a sanctuary where they can ride horses like other children do and work with specially trained therapists to discover their own full potential. For many, that includes walking or speaking for the very first time. For the child and for that child's family, it's a gift beyond measure and offered freely and completely free of charge. For Charles Fletcher, now 76 years young, he says his encore is the most meaningful work of his life. So on behalf of AARP, we are so grateful that Charles saw a need that he couldn't walk away from, and because of that, generations to come will benefit. Join me on a visit to his ranch in this short film.
Horses, in my opinion, can transmit and receive love, affection, and approval.
That's a good boy.
And I believe that the children with disabilities also have a very open, accessible spirit.
Good job.
I was an engineer, and when my retirement kicked in, I volunteered at a therapeutic riding center.
Kind of tight.
One day, the instructor was trying to get a little girl with severe autism to look her in the eye. And she was yelling at her, "Look at me, look at me." And I took her aside and whispered to her, and she smiled and looked at me, and I said, "I can make a difference." Higher, more. Our goal in working with the children is to have them be the best they can be.
Lefty in and swing. Swing that leg. Good job.
Are you ready to lead Miss Annie to the ramp? We started coming to Spirit Horse when Aiden was 2. He was still fully dependent on a ventilator. He was on oxygen. He was just barely able to sit up. And we called Charles, and he never even batted an eye. Told us to bring him on out, and Aiden has been progressing ever since.
I used my credit cards for the first 10 years to finance Spirit Horse. At one point in time, my credit card debt was $138,000.
Come on, Ysabel. I've had multiple sclerosis for 22 years.
I hadn't been on a horse in about 10 years. I didn't think I could ride again.
I felt that I could use the experience I had in business to make a difference. As an engineer, I understood circuits, and I thought I could understand what was going on with the brain. We have developed, through scientific research, very successful therapy, and it's free of charge. There are 91 licensed Spirit Horse centers worldwide, and we just keep growing and growing. Okay, we're going for a ride.
We'll go for a ride.
I'm lucky that God gave me this ministry. In my first career, I thought success was making all the money I could for the corporation. Now, success is seeing a mother cry when her child takes their first step, seeing the joy in the children as they come to their ponies. Working with these wonderful children has softened my approach to life. My name is Charles Fletcher, And this is my encore.
It is my great honor to introduce to you the 2014 Purpose Prize winner, Mr. Charles Irving Fletcher.
I am honored and greatly humbled by the selection of Spirit Horse International for this prestigious prize. I accept it on behalf of our instructors in our 90 centers worldwide, and especially those at our headquarters center in Corinth, Texas, who faithfully walk miles every day leading these ponies to help these children with dedication and love. I also accept it on behalf of our gallant old horses and ponies who faithfully and with love carry these children and adults with disabilities towards healing. I am but a simple servant of our Lord. He gave me a job to do, and throughout my life and my career, He guided me in ways that I could build the skills to found and develop Spirit Horse. I am eternally grateful for that. I'm asked often how an engineering executive could transform into healthcare. And I have to tell you that all the skills that you're learning now, you in your first careers, are directly applicable to your encore career. The leadership you're learning, the administration, problem solving, putting aside barriers, working hard, all those things are going to be applicable when you start your encore career. I have to tell you this, that it is amazing what God can do with a burnt-out old man and a bunch of worn-out old ponies.
Well, as we catch our collective breath after this dazzling display of innovation, creativity, and plain hard work, I want to say how impressed I am with this year's Purpose Prize winners. Each project is astonishing, but together they are just stunning in their breadth and impact. Thank you again to all the winners and the presenters.
You know, Jane, it's just amazing to see what people can do when they want to get something done, but one of the things I heard tonight was it took a lot of humor to keep going.
Exactly. It's amazing to see what people can do when they are open to life's possibilities and have the fortitude to keep taking one small step after another, even when they're not sure if they'll have the resources to keep going.
Exactly. So who would have thought that a global disaster relief infrastructure, as you'd heard, could be launched with duct tape and a laptop computer? Or that something as terrifying as blindness could become a vehicle for great and positive change?
It's also very moving to me as a mother that so many projects this year touch the lives of children, from efforts to make their lives at school less difficult, or to sow the seeds of good health and discipline row by row in a community garden. Comforting, comforting, easy swaying, horseback, burned out old broadcaster. Thank you for laughing. And I'll finish with the importance of the foundation of the financial security offers struggling families. It is hard to think of a project this year that doesn't affect the rising generations and improve their lives.
Is that my cue?
Yeah, yeah.
And the encore endeavors of the 38 Purpose Prize Fellows, also being honored here tonight, are no different. There is so much work and heart invested in making communities, from schools and the neighborhoods to veterans groups and remote villages in the developing world, better places for those people who live there, and so much creativity, giving people the power to empower themselves. It's mind-boggling how resourceful people can be when the will to do it is so strong.
It is so true, and there's not much to compare to the drive to create change and the life experience to know how to do it.
I know sometimes I feel like my whole life has led me to this moment, to this work, and to the Encore community. And I wonder, 20 or 30 or even 40 years from now, if, because of that little one, if some of our Shikawali dancers are going to remember this night and the people that we celebrated. Let's hope so. Because I can't help thinking that some of those young and gifted people who kicked off our celebration tonight are going to be inspired and someday engage in their own encores.
Well, either way, we haven't seen the last of them. Chikawali will be back on a stage with a final performance to close out this inspiring ceremony, which will be followed by a dessert reception. But first, a little food for thought from Encore.org founder and CEO Mark Friedman. Mark was the first, but not the last, to articulate the Encore vision and challenge society to leverage that great and rising wave of human talent to address issues that concern us all. Please welcome my friend, Mark Friedman.
Well, I wanted to start with a big shout out for my beloved San Francisco Giants for losing in such lopsided fashion that I wasn't distracted in the least throughout this evening's programming, and actually throw in a word of nostalgia as well. Sherry talked about the very first of all the Purpose Prize events, which was held in a garden club in Menlo Park, California, with about 50 people. As I look out now with balconies filled with people, I realize how far we've come. But that inaugural event did produce a memorable moment. The prizes were presented by Purpose Prize Judge Sidney Poitier, who presented one prize to a winner who immediately pronounced spontaneously that the happiest day of his life was when the man who came to dinner came to lunch. You know, watching the videos and watching the video of David Campbell's remarkable work, beginning with the tsunami in 2002, I couldn't help but think that the aging of our society is often thought of in those terms: the coming age quake, the gray tsunami, this vast disaster, a long wave that's comprised of older people who will bring greed and need upon us, a world of dependency ratios and foreclosed possibilities, especially for younger generations. The Atlantic Monthly even a few years ago had an article about this phenomenon with the title, "The Coming Death Shortage." So the Purpose Prize was created to counteract that idea and present a very different vision of what is possible, and to show the ways in which the new demographics can serve as a rising tide that can lift all generations. But that said, it was with some trepidation when we announced the original prize. We were going to give out 5 awards in that first year, and the nominations were coming in as at a trickle. And we were wondering, oh my God, maybe we should have done 3 prizes or 1. And then the floodgates opened, and we got 1,200 nominations that first year. And the torrent has continued ever since. As we heard earlier, we're up to about 465 winners and fellows, closing in on 500, 10,000 nominations. We had to create the fellows just to honor the top 5% of the people who have come forward. And in thinking about the implications of all of this and going beyond the numbers, I was struck by a beautiful line that Mauricio uttered in his video. He said that the heart of change came down to, can we make visible what nobody sees? And I think that really is the essence of the Purpose Prize, to show this solution waiting to happen, hidden in plain sight. I think the Purpose Prize winners are making visible the possibilities of these intersecting demographic and longevity revolutions, showing us that we can make the most of these inexorable changes in the population, and I think most importantly that innovation and experience can go hand in hand. And they reminded me of another earlier Purpose Prize winner who exemplified that idea, and a great quote from him. This was Robert Chambers, who won the prize, I think, in the second year. And he was somebody who dreamed about a leisurely retirement, riding his bike in Hanover, New Hampshire, and he managed to do that, but after a couple of years, he was both bored and out of money. So he went searching for a job, and the only place that would hire him was a local used car dealership, which it turns out to Chambers' chagrin was making all its money by ripping off low-income rural buyers. And he was appalled by that, and he was galvanized by it, and he created a program to provide fuel-efficient cars, low-interest loans, and credit counseling to rural buyers in New Hampshire. That was a massive success, and he called it Bonnie Clack for car loans and counseling, but really he chose that title because he was a great fan of car talk, of click and clack. And the success of Bonnie Clack led to the highlight of his life, which was actually being interviewed on Car Talk. And then shortly thereafter to the second greatest moment of his life, which was being summoned to the White House to be honored by the president. And when he got up in front of a group of other honored social innovators, all in their 20s, he uttered this phrase. He said, "I was old enough to know injustice when I saw it and experienced enough to do something about it." And I can think of no better benediction for the work we've been honoring tonight. And I can think of no better challenge for all of us who are old enough to know where change is needed and who are experienced enough to do something about that. So I'll leave you with that challenge. For all of us who've been inspired by what we've heard tonight, how will you use your experience? How will you leave your mark? How will you live a legacy in a way that leaves the world a little better for future generations? How will you make visible what needs to be seen and make real what must be done? Thank you. I'd like to invite up to the stage all of the 2014 Purpose Prize winners for one last chance to celebrate their work.